ॐ साईश्वराय विद्महे सत्यदेवाय धीमहि तन्नः सर्वः प्रचोदयात्। ॐ साईश्वराय विद्महे सत्यदेवाय धीमहि तन्नः सर्वः प्रचोदयात्। ॐ साईश्वराय विद्महे सत्यदेवाय धीमहि तन्नः सर्वः प्रचोदयात्। जय गणेश पाहि मां श्री गणेश रक्ष मां।
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 जय गणेश जय गणेश जय 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 गणेश रक्ष मां।
लंबोदर गौरी सुत जय गणेश पाहि 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 मां।
मंगलकर संकट हर जय गणेश रक्ष 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 मां।
जय गणेश जय गणेश 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 जय गणेश रक्ष मां।
जय गणेश पाहि मां श्री गणेश रक्ष मां।
जय गणेश पाहि मां श्री गणेश रक्ष मां।
जय गणेश जय गणेश जय गणेश रक्ष मां।
जय गणेश जय गणेश रक्ष मां।
लंबोदर गौरी सुत जय गणेश पाहि मां।
लंबोदर गौरी सुत जय गणेश पाहि मां।
मंगलकर संकट हर जय गणेश रक्ष मां।
मंगलकर संकट हर जय गणेश रक्ष मां।
जय गणेश जय गणेश 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 जय गणेश रक्ष मां।
जय गणेश पाहि मां श्री गणेश रक्ष मां। साक्षात् परब्रह्म साई गुरुवंदना सत्य साई।
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 गुरुपद रंजन गुरु परमेशा।
गुरुपद रंजन गुरु परमेशा।
गुरुपद रंजन गुरु परमेशा।
गुरुपद रंजन गुरु परमेशा।
गुरु ब्रह्मा गुरु विष्णु महेशा।
गुरु ब्रह्मा
महेशा।
गुरु ब्रह्मा गुरु विष्णु महेशा।
सद्गुरु साई परतिपुरीशा।
सद्गुरु साई परतिपुरीशा।
सद्गुरु साई परतिपुरीशा।
सद्गुरु साई परतिपुरीशा।
चरण नमोस्तुते साई महेशा।
चरण नमोस्तुते साई महेशा।
चरण नमोस्तुते साई महेशा।
चरण नमोस्तुते साई महेशा।
साक्षात् परब्रह्म साई गुरु वंदना सत्य साई।
साक्षात् परब्रह्म साई गुरु वंदना सत्य साई।
गुरुपद रंजन गुरु परमेशा।
गुरु पररंजन गुरु परमेशा।
गुरु ब्रह्मा गुरु विष्णु महेशा।
गुरु ब्रह्मा गुरु विष्णु महेशा।
सद्गुरु साई परतिपुरीशा।
सद्गुरु साई परतिपुरीशा।
चरण नमोस्तुते साई महेशा।
चरण नमोस्तुते साई महेशा।
चरण नमोस्तुते साई महेशा।
चरण नमोस्तुते साई महेशा।
साक्षात् परब्रह्म साई गुरु वंदना सत्य साई। सरस्वती नमस्तुभ्यं वरदे कामरूपिणी। विद्यारम्भं करिष्यामि सिद्धिर्भवतु मे सदा। सिद्धिर्भवतु मे सदा। नमो शारदा नमो शारदा नमो शारदा माता।
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 हे विद्या ज्ञान प्रदायिनी।
विद्या ज्ञान प्रदायिनी।
हे विद्या ज्ञान प्रदायिनी।
विद्या ज्ञान प्रदायिनी।
मा वीणा पुस्तकधारिणी।
मा वीणा पुस्तकधारिणी।
मा वीणा पुस्तकधारिणी।
मा वीणा पुस्तकधारिणी। भवभञ्जनी मनोरञ्जनी
भवभञ्जनी मनोरञ्जनी
भवभञ्जनी मनोरञ्जनी
सत्य साईश्वरी माता
सत्य साईश्वरी माता
सत्य साईश्वरी माता
सत्य साईश्वरी माता
सत्य साईश्वरी सत्य साईश्वरी सत्य साईश्वरी माता
सत्य साईश्वरी सत्य साईश्वरी माता
सत्य साईश्वरी सत्य साईश्वरी सत्य साईश्वरी माता
सत्य साईश्वरी सत्य साईश्वरी माता
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 नमो शारदा नमो शारदा नमो शारदा माता
शारदा नमो शारदा नमो शारदा माता
हे विद्या ज्ञान प्रदायिनी
विद्या ज्ञान प्रदायिनी
मा वीणा पुस्तक धारिणी
वीणा पुस्तकधारिणी
भवभञ्जनी मनोरञ्जनी
भवभञ्जनी मनोरञ्जनी
सत्य साईश्वरी माता
सत्य साईश्वरी माता
सत्य साईश्वरी सत्य साईश्वरी सत्य साईश्वरी माता
सत्य साईश्वरी सत्य साईश्वरी माता
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 नमो शारदा नमो शारदा नमो शारदा माता अखंड ज्योति जलाओ साई मन मंदिर में
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 अखंड ज्योति जलाओ
अखंड ज्योति जलाओ
अखंड ज्योति जलाओ
अखंड ज्योति जलाओ
कोटि सूर्य सम तेज स्वरूपा
सूर्य सम तेज स्वरूपा
कोटि सूर्य सम तेज स्वरूपा
सूर्य सम तेज स्वरूपा
साई तुम हो दिव्य स्वरूपा
साई तुम हो दिव्य स्वरूपा
साई तुम हो दिव्य दिव्य स्वरूपा
साई तुम हो दिव्य स्वरूपा
अखंड ज्योति जलाओ
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 दिव्य ज्योति ज्ञान ज्योति प्रेम 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 ज्योति जलाओ
अखंड ज्योति जलाओ
ज्योति जलाओ
अखंड ज्योति जलाओ
अखंड ज्योति जलाओ
अखंड ज्योति जलाओ साई मन मंदिर में
ज्योति जलाओ साई मन मंदिर में
अखंड ज्योति जलाओ
अखंड ज्योति जलाओ
कोटि सूर्य सम तेज स्वरूपा
सूर्य सम तेज स्वरूपा
साई तुम हो दिव्य स्वरूपा
साई तुम हो दिव्य स्वरूपा
अखंड ज्योति जलाओ
अखंड ज्योति जलाओ
अखंड ज्योति जलाओ
अखंड ज्योति जलाओ
दिव्य ज्योति ज्ञान ज्योति प्रेम ज्योति जलाओ
दिव्य ज्योति ज्ञान ज्योति प्रेम ज्योति जलाओ
अखंड ज्योति जलाओ
अखंड ज्योति जलाओ
अखंड ज्योति जलाओ
अखंड
अखंड
ज्योति जलाओ
ज्योति जलाओ साई मन मंदिर में अखंड ज्योति जलाओ राम रघुवर राम सीता राम राम राम
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 श्री राम 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 साई राम राम राम
राम राम साई राम राम राम
श्री राम 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 साई राम राम राम
राम राम साई राम राम राम
राम रघुवर राम सीता राम राम राम
राम रघुवर राम सीता राम राम राम
हे पतित पावन राम हे श्यामल कोमल राम
पतित पावन राम हे श्यामल कोमल राम
हे पतित पावन राम हे श्यामल कोमल राम
पतित पावन राम हे श्यामल कोमल राम
हे वैदेही प्रिय राम साई राम राम जय राम
देहि प्रिय राम साई राम राम जय राम
हे वैदेही प्रिय राम रघुवर राम सीता राम राम राम।
राम रघुवर राम सीता राम राम राम।
श्री राम 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 साई राम राम राम।
राम राम साई राम राम राम।
राम रघुवर राम सीता राम राम राम।
राम रघुवर राम सीता राम राम राम।
हे पतित पावन राम, हे श्यामल कोमल राम।
पावना राम हे श्यामल कोमल राम।
हे वैदेही प्रिय राम साई राम राम जय राम।
हे प्रिय राम साई राम राम जय राम।
श्री राम 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 साई राम राम राम।
राम राम साई राम राम राम।
श्री राम 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 साई राम राम राम।
राम राम साई राम राम राम।
राम रघुवर राम सीता राम राम राम। सर्वधर्म प्रिय देवा,
सर्वधर्म प्रिय देवा।
सर्वधर्म प्रिय देवा।
सर्वधर्म प्रिय देवा।
सत्य साई देवा।
सत्य साई देवा।
सत्य साई देवा।
सत्य साई देवा।
अल्लाह येशु बुद्धर नानक।
येशु बुद्धर नानक।
अल्लाह येशु बुद्धर नानक।
येशु बुद्धर नानक।
सौराष्ट्र महावीर तुम हो।
राष्ट्र महावीर तुम हो।
सौराष्ट्र महावीर तुम हो।
राष्ट्र महावीर तुम हो।
राम भी तुम हो, कृष्ण भी तुम हो।
तुम हो कृष्ण भी तुम हो।
राम भी तुम हो, कृष्ण भी तुम हो।
तुम हो कृष्ण भी तुम हो।
विश्वरूप 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 तुम हो।
साई विश्वरूप तुम हो।
साई विश्वरूप तुम हो।
सर्वधर्म प्रिय देवा।
सर्वधर्म प्रिय देवा।
सत्य साई देवा।
सत्य साई देवा।
अल्लाह येशु बुद्धर नानक।
येशु बुद्धर नानक।
सौराष्ट्र महावीर तुम हो।
महावीर तुम हो।
राम भी तुम हो, कृष्ण भी तुम हो।
तुम हो कृष्ण भी तुम हो।
विश्वरूप तुम हो।
विश्वरूप तुम हो।
विश्वरूप तुम हो।
विश्वरूप तुम हो।
साई विश्वरूप तुम हो।
विश्वरूप तुम हो।
सर्वधर्म प्रिय देवा। आंजनेय वीरा हनुमंत शूरा।
आंजनेय वीरा हनुमंत शूरा।
आंजनेय वीरा हनुमंत शूरा।
आंजनेय वीरा हनुमंत शूरा।
वायु कुमारा वानर वीरा।
वायु कुमारा वानर वीरा।
वायु कुमारा वानर वीरा।
वायु कुमारा वानर वीरा।
सीताराम जय राधेश्याम।
श्रीराम जय राम जय जय राम सीताराम जय राधेश्याम।
श्रीराम जय राम जय जय राम सीताराम जय राधेश्याम।
श्रीराम जय राम जय जय राम सीताराम जय राधेश्याम।
श्रीराम जय राम जय जय राम सीताराम जय राधेश्याम।
श्रीराम जय राम जय जय राम सीताराम जय राधेश्याम।
श्रीराम जय राम जय जय राम सीताराम जय राधेश्याम।
श्रीराम जय राम जय जय राम सीताराम जय राधेश्याम।
श्रीराम जय राम जय जय राम सीताराम जय राधेश्याम।
श्रीराम जय राम जय जय राम सीताराम जय राधेश्याम।
श्रीराम जय राम जय जय राम सीताराम जय राधेश्याम।
श्रीराम जय राम जय जय राम सीताराम जय राधेश्याम।
श्रीराम जय राम जय जय राम सीताराम जय राधेश्याम।
श्रीराम जय राम जय जय राम सीताराम जय राधेश्याम।
श्रीराम जय राम जय जय राम सीताराम जय राधेश्याम।
श्रीराम जय राम जय जय राम सीताराम जय राधेश्याम।
श्रीराम जय राम जय जय राम सीताराम जय राधेश्याम।
श्रीराम जय राम जय जय राम सीताराम जय राधेश्याम।
श्रीराम जय राम जय जय राम सीताराम जय राधेश्याम।
श्रीराम जय राम जय जय राम सीताराम जय राधेश्याम।
आंजनेय वीरा हनुमंत शूरा।
शंकरा सदाशिवा चंद्रशेखरा।
शंकरा सदाशिवा चंद्रशेखरा।
शंकरा सदाशिवा चंद्रशेखरा।
शंकरा सदाशिवा चंद्रशेखरा।
चंद्रशेखरा साई शंकरा।
चंद्रशेखरा साई शंकरा।
चंद्रशेखरा साई शंकरा।
चंद्रशेखरा साई शंकरा।
ओम शंकरा सदाशिवा चंद्रशेखरा।
शंकरा सदाशिवा चंद्रशेखरा।
नीलकंठ शूलधारि साई शंकरा।
नीलकंठ शूलधारी साई शंकरा।
नीलकंठ शूलधारि साई शंकरा।
नीलकंठ शूलधारी साई शंकरा।
हालनेत्र त्रिपुरहारि साई शंकरा।
हालनेत्र त्रिपुरहारी साई शंकरा।
हालनेत्र त्रिपुरहारि साई शंकरा।
हालनेत्र त्रिपुरहारी साई शंकरा।
चंद्रशेखरा साई शंकरा।
चंद्रशेखरा साई शंकरा।
चंद्रशेखरा साई शंकरा।
चंद्रशेखरा साई शंकरा।
शंकरा सदाशिवा चंद्रशेखरा।
शंकरा सदाशिवा चंद्रशेखरा।
चंद्रशेखरा साई शंकरा।
चंद्रशेखरा साई शंकरा।
ओम शंकरा सदाशिवा चंद्रशेखरा।
शंकरा सदाशिवा चंद्रशेखरा।
नीलकंठ शूलधारि साई शंकरा।
नीलकंठ शूलधारी साई शंकरा।
हालनेत्र त्रिपुरहारि साई शंकरा।
हालनेत्र त्रिपुरहारी साई शंकरा।
चंद्रशेखरा साई शंकरा।
चंद्रशेखरा साई शंकरा।
चंद्रशेखरा साई शंकरा।
चंद्रशेखरा साई शंकरा।
शंकरा सदाशिवा चंद्रशेखरा।
Love is my form, truth is my breath, this is my food. Love is my form, truth is my breath, bliss is my food. My life is my message, expansion is my life. My life is my message. My life is my message, expansion is my life. reason for love, no reason for love, no birth, no death. Prema Satya Ananda, Shanti Satya Ananda. Prema Satya Ananda, Shanti Dharma Ananda. Shirdi Sai Patti Baba Jai Jai. Shirdi Sai Patti Sai Prema Sai Jai Jai. Love is my form, truth is my bread, peace is my food. Love is my form, truth is my bread, peace is my food. Love is my form, truth is my bread, peace is my food. Love is my form, truth is my bread, bliss is my food.
There was another incident which touched me so much. It was one afternoon, it was during the days when the Atirudra Mahayagna was going on in Prashanti Nilayam. I remember one afternoon we were running around and there was a lot of work to be completed. I had not had my breakfast, I had not had lunch. A lot of work was pending for the afternoon session. And suddenly, Swami sent word around 12:45. They'd asked him to come. I went home. I entered the dining hall. Swami was seated there. The secretary of our trust, the former secretary, was standing there. And Swami says, "Uta madilva?" I said, "Illa Swami, kutko." So I said, "Swami, how can I sit on the same table where you have your food? I will sit down." I was hungry, believe me. I was very hungry. And when somebody offers you food and when somebody offers it with so much love, how can you refuse? I said, "Swami, I'll sit down and I'll eat. Mele kutko." And he made me sit. And then he fills up the plate with everything. Then he says, "Ivattu yav divsa?" I said, "Ivattu Krishna Janmashtami." It was Janmashtami on that day. Oh, so naan uta kodbeku. He takes his chair close. Papa, ತಾಯಿ ತಂದೆ ಇದ್ದಿದ್ರೆ ಊಟ ಕೊಡ್ತಾ ಇದ್ರು, ಯಾರು ಇಲ್ಲ, ನಾನೇ ಕೊಡಬೇಕು. So he takes every hand and feeds. And from that chair, because he had to really strain and put his hands into my mouth and give those few mouthfuls of food, I did not know what to do. I actually said, "Swami, at this moment, please take away my prana. Because I don't think I can ever have so much love again in my life. This is too much, this much of love. I don't think anybody can give to anyone. Why should he call? Why should he call and give food and feed me?" He says, "Illa Bangaru, Thago." He goes on. I said, "Swami, your fingers, they are into my mouth. Why?" He said, "Take away my prana now, Swami, it is enough." He says, "Prana ತಗೊಂಡ್ಬಿಟ್ರೆ ನನ್ನ ಕೆಲಸ ಯಾರು ಮಾಡ್ತಾರೆ? ಹೋಗು ಅರೇಂಜ್ಮೆಂಟ್ಸ್ ಮಾಡು." As if nothing happened. He takes you into the depths of that divine love. He soaks you, bathes you, immerses you in that love. And then the disciplinarian in him, the mother in him, the merciful Lord in him, to put you on the path, to teach you non-attachment. Go and do your work. So he sent me back and work went on. This incident was again so touching. Later on, in fact, once when he called home for lunch, he was feeding us with so many things. Finally, at one stage, there was some Bengan masala or something which was served. And I was not touching it. And Swami kept on watching. Then he said, "Hey, Tinu." I was trying to be too smart. I said, "Swami, idella tamsik." He said, "Nan jote yen tagondru adu satvik agate. Tinu." So he made me eat that, and of course my hand was itching to have it. But you have to prove your extra smartness, So then he gave chocolate ice cream, vanilla ice cream, butterscotch. They came in one ready sequence and they went through the gullet smoothly, steadily, as fast as it could. And after that he says, "Last ice cream yaudu?" I said, "Chocolate." "Chocolate tinle bardu. You must not have chocolate ice cream only. Now, anyway they have made a mistake, I'll give you fruits now." So then fruits come. Variety of fruits keep coming. And after the fruits are taken, finally when we were all coming to Swami to take his namaskar before leaving, he says, "Bangaru, uta seriyaga agilla." After all this, he says, "Next time naane ready maadi kodtini." So this kind of love on and off was a little too much to, fathom. I think it was not too much to understand, but it was too much to fathom because only God can give this kind of love. There was another beautiful incident. We have time? Every time we would go to Parthi, I would take some Nevidyam for Swami, prepared at home. On one such occasion, we had taken Khara Bundi for him. And that afternoon, he called us inside. And during the interview, he said, "Indian Samachara." So I said, "Swami, nothing." And then, "Nange yen tagond bandidya? What have you got for me?" I said, "Nothing, Swami." You see the ignorant mind, no? I couldn't even think of removing my bag and removing the vessel. I said, "Indian Samachara." He wanted it to come out. And I am not telling, I am not remembering it. Again, Bangalore-inda bhariya yeno maadi kalisirbekalla. Your wife must have prepared something and sent. Then I realized, she gave me one bowl full of khara bundi. I said, "Haudu Swami, khara bundi ide, kodu." So the bundi is removed and I place it at his lotus feet. He says, "Swalpa kodu." So that spoon, the grace, the finesse that this avatar has is something so unique. His hand movements, the way he would look at you, the way he would brush that hair aside, the way he would shrug off a mosquito which, if it was sitting on his robe, the way he would glance at you suddenly, the way he would put food into his mouth, everything was so perfect. The way he took the spoon, took bundi in that, like this. And one bundi fell down. And it rolled on that carpet, the interview room. And my eyes immediately shifted to that one bundi. And I decided somehow I should hold this and put it into my pocket, because how can that bundi be there? And Swami was talking. He was saying all kinds of things. But look at man. Instead of focusing on the divine wisdom which the Lord was trying to shower, I was more concerned about that one small khara bundi which was rolling somewhere on the carpet. Suddenly Swami said, "Hey, adu kodu." I said, "Swami, how can I give this to you? This fell down and on the same carpet we have all been walking. How can I give it to you, Swami? It is not possible. I cannot give this. I cannot even offer it to you." He said, "Whatever is offered to me with love, I will accept. Give it." So instantly I gave it and instantly he took it. And he said, "Tumba santosha." And I was feeling guilty. I said, how could I have even offered something which had fallen down? But the Lord chose to give it a totally different interpretation. He said, anything that is offered to me with love, I will accept. This was the extent of his love. This was the extent of his compassion. He was not worried about the quantity. He was worried only about the quality. His love, I think, immeasurable. I remember 2 other incidents. Suddenly it comes to my mind during the Atirudram. I remember on the first day of the Yagna, it was supposed to have started in the evening of the 9th of August, the functions. And that afternoon, you know, how much of build-up had happened for this Yagna, and Swami was talking about it to everybody. And believe me, I want to say this in front of Swami today. Again, I mentioned this in front of him in Kulwant Hall during those Yagna days. Yet again in this Ramesh Hall, I want to tell you all, this Yagna, entire thing was conceived, thought, executed entirely by him. People very often make this mistake and associate us with it. We are no way connected, entirely conceived by him, executed by him. Every small thing he did, everything he did connected to the Yagna. There was nothing. He even got the ghee organized from Punjab. He got all the ahutis organized. He got the firewood organized. He got the homakundas organized. He got the rangoli to be put around the home. Everything was done by him. So I remember that morning, there was still a lot of work to be done. And Swami suddenly calls me at about 12 o'clock home. And when I enter, he says, Nodu Bangaru, if your parents had been there, all arrangements, they would have taken care. Now your parents are not there. So you don't get tensed and worried at all. You go now and sleep. You go to your room and sleep. You have good rest, get up, have a good bath, and straight you come to the hall. I will take care of all the arrangements. I said, Swami, there is so much work still pending. Allow me to finish that little work. I will go to the room at 3 o'clock. I'll have my bath and come. Beda. You should not go through. If your parents had been there, I would not have called you. Since your parents are not there, I am telling you, go to your room and sleep. And I had to obey him, because whatever the Lord says should be obeyed. There are no two ways about it. Some things which he says might seem very basic on the face of it, but there would be a great significance beyond what he said. So I religiously went to the room and I took my good nap. On the day of the Yagna, believe me, that day we are starting, and the whole world might have thought this guy must be very busy. Actually, I was resting in the room, and Swami was busy getting all arrangements made. And I got up, had a bath, and right royally came. And at 2:45, some knock on the door, and that man says, Swami has sent flask with coffee. I said, what is this? What is the great thing that we are doing for the Lord to actually take care and send some coffee? This is love. This kind of care, that motherly care. You know, the words which he said was, if your parents had been there, it was different. Now that your parents are not there, I have to take care. Even the first morning when the Prana Pratishtha had to be done, with due respect to all the elders in the organization and in the trust, many of them said, Swami, why should you do the Prana Pratishtha early morning at 6 o'clock? Please take rest. Let us do it after 9 o'clock. And Swami called each one of them. I remember that incident where he called each one of the elders into the interview room, and I was seated there, and he would ask each one of them, this Yagna he is telling, is it all okay? And everybody gave Swami their own interpretations. And they said, Swami, it's so early in the morning, there is no need, let us do it at 9 o'clock. And Swami finally heard them all out and sent them. And Swami said, you don't worry what anybody is saying. I will come. I will come at 6 in the morning and I will do the Prana Pratishtha. And then I said, Swami, but at physical level, you should not take the strain. I will come because if your parents had been there again and again, the same thing. If your parents had been there, they would have taken care, they would have been there. Since they are not there, I have to come. So I said, Swami, so much you have done, everything is done by you. Why should you take that? No, I will come. And promptly that morning at 6 a.m. he comes. He does the Prana Pratishtha. And when he is leaving in the car, Nan helidnalla bartinanta nodu bande. I told you I'll come, I have come. So this kind of concern, this kind of care, this kind of a feeling that he kept giving me that I am there. You don't have to worry that you have nobody else. I am there. This is not a feeling just given to me. This is a feeling that is applicable to the entire humanity, that God in that form is available for all of us and is there to take care of us. In 2007 March, my wife and I, unfortunately, we had a very bad road accident on our way back from Prashanti Nilayam one morning. It was a Thursday. That morning when I took permission to leave to Bangalore, the first thing Swami asked was, "Vaifu barta idara vapasu?" I wondered why was he asking that, because it was a normal thing. Every time we would go together and return together. I said, "How do, Swami?" Ha ha. Very disgruntledly, he gave permission. And so we sat down, and afterwards we left at about 1 o'clock from there, 12:30 I think. Somewhere near this, after the highway was crossed, when we were coming towards Chikbalapur, the Devanhalli cross, we had a terrible road accident. It was a Volvo bus hitting our car head on. I was not driving very fast, but the bus, the road was wrongly structured there. He came and hit head on. And the car was smashed completely. She collapsed immediately. Lot of blood. Almost a liter of blood was out. Head injury. She just became unconscious. And I was sitting and I had blood all over me, injuries all over me. I didn't know what to do. We were not even able to remove her out of the car. She was caught. And we went through a lot of trauma. I mean, it's a very long story. If I keep talking about it, it'll go on for the next 2 hours, I think. A good Samaritan came. He took us to the Devanhalli government hospital. At a particular point, the hospital head said, "She is no longer there. You have to understand that she is not there anymore. She has gone cold. Everything has ended. We cannot revive her now. So now we will arrange an ambulance for you to take the body back to Bangalore." And I said, I cannot believe this. I mean, how can this happen? And the first thought was Swami. And I called one of our seniors in Puttaparthi, who went straight to Swami and reported, "Swami, nan gottu, you tell him nothing is wrong. Tell him to tell the doctors to give her an injection." And he calls me back and he says, "Swami has instructed that you should tell the doctor to give her an injection." And I go to the doctor and tell him, and that man shouts at me. He says, "What are you talking? She is not there anymore. We have already covered the body and kept. How do you expect us to give her an injection? Have you gone mad?" I said, "Sai Baba has sent this message." He says, "I don't know how to respond. You go and tell Sai Baba she's already gone." I said, "But since he has said it, you please do it." So he instructs the nurse, and that lady just takes an injection and gives, like that. And the moment that injection was given, she said. So I said, "How can she is alive? How can you say she is gone?" And then he says, this is unimaginable, and the doctors all started fretting, and they couldn't imagine what was happening in front of their eyes. And finally they thought something had gone wrong with us. Something was wrong at a different plane. I hope you understand. They got scared that somebody whom they had declared as dead was actually making a noise and coming back. They thought something was drastically wrong, but they couldn't appreciate the fact that this was a great Leela of the Lord. And we then put her on an ambulance. It was again a lot of miracle that an ambulance got arranged. Brand new ambulance comes there with a driver in crisp, clean uniform. First time the ambulance is being driven by him. He takes us, and on the way continuously Chakravarti sir is giving information. Swami has said, "Go to Nimhans, don't worry, there is so-and-so doctor, go, take care." So we go. The doctor is waiting there. Incidentally, this doctor, Satyaprabha, is the daughter of a doctor who is to come to Swami. I think it was Narasappa. Narasappa's daughter is this Dr. Satyaprabha. We went to Nimhans and everything was ready. And I was soaked in blood, injuries everywhere. I don't know how I was even moving around. There were all kinds of injuries. She was still in almost a very delirious, unconscious state. We reach the hospital. The doctor takes her in. They do all kinds of tests. They say the thin layer of the brain got saved by a few millimeters of inches or something like that. It was a miraculous escape. They said she needs to be there for a few weeks. And believe me, in 2 days' time, with Swami's divine intervention, she got discharged. She came back home. I'm cutting this story short because we don't have time. Miraculously, he intervened and he got her out of the hospital. And that night, the night when I admitted her in the hospital, I went back home. I came home to get change clothes for her. And when I entered the house, the entire kitchen was full of glass pieces. The entire kitchen was flooded with glass pieces. And I didn't realize what was this. How could glass pieces be there in the kitchen? Anyway, I asked the lady in the house, what is this? And she was also shocked. Went back to the hospital. We went through the treatment and all. Every day, the next 15 days, every day in the evening, Swami would inquire. He would make somebody or the other call, ask them how are they, ask them what is happening. Today, how is she? Today, how is she? And on the second day after the accident happened, Swami in fact got into the car and said, take me to his house, I want to go now. And then somebody said, Swami, they are still in Nimhans. So he said, ask them to take rest. Every evening, 6:30, a call would come. How are they? How are they? How are they? After 15 days, he sent a message, asked them to come to Parthi. So we both went to Puttaparthi. That afternoon, he was seated. Swami comes at 3:45 and he takes in students' terminology, it is that square cut, the first cut on the side. The moment he comes into the hall, the first cut he took. And he comes around. The moment he is entering the veranda, he says, Punarjanma Kotidini, Punarjanma Kotidini. So I went to him, I said, Swami, everything was gone and you did something which nobody can do. I mean, I didn't know how to express. What will you tell the Lord who has given life back? Call her inside. So I asked her to come. As we are entering the interview room, Swami says, Punarjanma, Punarjanma. He says, Hod janmadalli yeneno marta idri. Ee janma saigagi matra. You did all kinds of things in earlier births. This birth is only for Sai. And then he narrated the entire incident. He said how it happened. He said, I was standing on the road divider and you were crying. He said, you keep telling you have a lot of faith in me, but when you saw your wife was collapsing and dying, you were crying. You didn't even once call out to me. What is this faith that you have? And I was standing there and I was laughing at you. I said, why did you laugh? He said, Swami, how can you laugh? He said, you had no faith in me. You were continuously crying. You should have called out to me. You should have cried out to me. You didn't call out to me. But I didn't let you go. I did everything that was required. When the injection was put in, I put the prana inside, he said. In fact, after saying this, I actually started off telling you all, I told Swami, I want to narrate this incident in Kulwant Hall in front of everybody, Swami. You have to give me the permission. And he said, idikkinna samaya bandilla, samaya bandaga nin helu. Ivaga beda, samaya bandaga helu, he said. And I asked him many times after that. I said, Swami, permit me to tell this, permit me to tell this. And this morning, when I was sitting in my puja, and I said, Swami, at least today, allow me to share this incident in that hall, that garland just cut. And so I decided that I must share this experience with all of you today.
Brahma Mazdatu आत्मलिङ्ग शिवतु आत्मलिङ्ग शिवतु
ॐ जय जगदीश हरे स्वामी सत्य साई हरे भक्त जना संरक्षक भक्त जना संरक्षक पति महेश्वरा ॐ जय जगदीश हरे शशिवदना श्रीकरा सर्वा प्राणपते स्वामी सर्वा प्राणपते आश्रित कल्पलतिका आश्रित कल्पलतिका आपद्बान्धवा ॐ जय जगदीश हरे मातपिता गुरुदैवमु मरियन्तयु नीवे स्वामी मरियन्तयु नीवे नाद ब्रह्म जगन्नाथ नाद ब्रह्म जगन्नाथ नागेन्द्रशयन ॐ जय जगदीश हरे ओंकार रूप ओजस्वी हो साई महादेवा सत्य साई महादेवा मंगल आरती अंधुको मंगल आरती अंधुको मंदर गिरिधारी ओम जय जगदीश हरे नारायण नारायण ओम सत्य नारायण 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 ओम नारायण नारायण ओम सत्य नारायण नारायण ओम सत्य नारायण नारायण ओम जय सद्गुरुदेवा नारायण नारायण ओम सत्य नारायण 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 ओम नारायण नारायण ओम सत्य नारायण नारायण ओम सत्य नारायण नारायण ओम जय सद्गुरुदेवा नारायण नारायण ओम सत्य नारायण 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 ओम नारायण नारायण ओम सत्य नारायण नारायण ओम सत्य नारायण नारायण ओम जय सद्गुरुदेवा शांति 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 समस्त लोकाः सुखिनो भवन्तु समस्त लोकाः सुखिनो भवन्तु समस्त लोकाः सुखिनो भवन्तु शांति 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 जय बोलो भगवान श्री सत्य साई बाबा जी की जय।